Hello all, this is JC3 from Is This Real? Do you want to start your own podcast? Then look no further than Buzzsprout.com. We here at Green Hour Media use Buzzsprout, and we love the team at Buzzsprout. They are all about helping you succeed. Buzzsprout gets your show listed in every major podcast platform. Follow the link in our show notes to let Buzzsprout know that we sent you. It gets you a $20 paid Amazon gift card if you sign up with a paid plan and helps support our show. Join us and over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout.com to get your message out to the world.
From the Keith Vincicalo Studios in Paterson, New Jersey, Green Hour Media proudly presents Is This Real? Tonight, we are going to look at the Kennedy assassination in 1963. What went on? Was Lee Oswald guilty? Who did it and why? Now your host, JC3.
Welcome everybody to another fantastic episode of Is This Real? This week on our podcast, we have, as Dad said at the beginning, the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And this will be, I believe, a day before. We are putting this up a day before his anniversary, or his death anniversary. But let me get into it. In the booth this week, we have Big Joe. Dad, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our program.
Mr. West, for 2 weeks in a row now, is in the booth. Mr. West, hello.
I am here.
He is here.
I am here.
Rody, say hello to the peeps.
Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody?
So this week, gentlemen, all of you, we are tackling JFK. Now, this is our second time trying to tackle JFK. We did it last year. Didn't go very well, so we didn't put it up. This year, we're all here in the booth. We're all talking about John F. Kennedy. And we're all talking about the assassination. Now, this is a very, very sensitive subject and a very time-consuming subject because just like 9/11, there's a lot to go into this subject. So,
I can feel the tension in the room right now. Like it's like
we're all ready for it.
It's like I'm like, yo, this is cold as ice.
Yeah, we're all ready for it, and I think Dad's been trying to chomp at the bit at this for a while now, and
he's itching.
we got he got it out last year, but we didn't put it up because it just didn't. We didn't feel it was right.
But now we got it.
So, Dad, start us off.
All right. I want everybody out there to understand something. In 1963, prior to the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, our nation was pretty much a innocent nation. What we were doing was we would believe what the government told us because the government wouldn't lie to us. We would believe anything that, had an official stamp on it. And unfortunately for us, since that time, our country is not innocent anymore. People learned how to question authority. People learn how to question what's going on. If it doesn't look right, ask a question. In 1963, when John Kennedy was assassinated, there was a lot of questions. That prompted one New York-based writer, Mark Lane, to ask the questions. What's going on? This doesn't add up. Now, having said all that, I'm going to let you know about the official timeline from the JFK assassination. And, let's just go from there. At 11:30, John Kennedy and his wife arrived in Air Force One at Love Field in Dallas. They disembarked. They were talking to the people in the crowd, driving the Secret Service crazy because what they were doing basically was running into the crowd and just shaking hands to all the well-wishers. Kennedy was very, very popular. Unfortunately, in Texas, not so much. Okay, from 11:30, he got in his car, in the motorcade. He joined John Connolly and his wife, Nellie. They went into an open-air limousine. Now, that open-air limousine should have had a bubble on it. But because the rain blew away that day, it was nice, and he wanted to see the people. He told them to take it off. Vice President Lyndon Johnson and his wife rode in the limo nearby, I believe a third car after.
I thought they told him that. I thought it was a hardtop that he was supposed to go in, and he was just like, no, I wanted to be a convertible.
No, he wanted the bubble off because he wanted people to see him, and he wanted to see the people.
Okay.
And quick question on that: didn't he? John F. Kennedy was a Democrat, right?
Yes, he was.
And still, like today, Texas at that point was Republican based.
It wasn't so much Republican; it was Democrats, but they were conservative Democrats. And in other words, they were.
Can such a thing exist?
They were almost like they were almost like a left-wing Republican, if that makes any sense to you. But they weren't, you didn't have what you have now across the board. You had far right and far left. You had in between, so they couldn't really distinguish the two. Now, continuing, at noon, he arrived in downtown Dallas. The motorcade headed down Main Street. Okay, it was, he made a right on, I believe it was Houston, and then in the left on Elm Street in front of the Texas School Book Depository. On his way to the Stemmons Freeway, he was actually going to be going to the Trade Mart to give a speech, and he never made it. He was assassinated on Elm Street, halfway through the motorcade, taken to Parkland Hospital, was worked on feverishly by a slew of doctors, and passed away that day, roughly about an hour after he was hit. Now, that's the official...
No, wait, hold on, wait. Didn't he get hit in the neck and in the head twice?
Okay, we're gonna go in that. We're gonna take care of that in a second.
The reason he was in Texas, he was campaigning for the '64 election, right?
Right, and there's a lot of issues with that. Number one issue I'm going to let out now is in 1963 campaigning. He was going to drop Lyndon Johnson from the ticket. He didn't want Johnson on the ticket because Johnson...
They did not like each other.
They did not like each other, but Johnson had a lot of scandals coming up, and he literally would have been thrown in prison. And the only way to stop that was to become president, so nobody investigated these things. Now, I know that's jumping a little ahead of ourselves here, but
hold on a second.
The motorcade basically was supposed to come down Main Street to the Stemmons Freeway, but then it was changed by the mayor, Earl Cabell. I'm sorry. Yeah, Earl Cabell was the mayor of Dallas that day. And he changed it inexplicably did not give any reasons why he did it.
Earl
and, later we found out why, because his brother Charles Cabell was fired by John F. Kennedy from his post in Washington. So, having said all that, after he was shot, things changed in our country. We're no longer innocent. We now question everything, sometimes even too much. So, Joshua, I want you to give us, if you can, give us the official timeline of the accused assassin at that time, Lee Harvey Oswald.
All right. Well, officially as of Thursday, November 21st, 1963, 8 a.m., Oswald's workday at the Texas School Bank Depository begins. He has lunch regularly around 12 to 12:45. At 4:45, his workday ends. He gets home by 5:15. He visits his family, plays with his daughter, etc., etc. Goes to bed around 9 to 10 p.m. that day. Following day, Friday, November 22nd, 1963, 7 a.m., Marina Oswald wakes Lee up and he leaves for work, and he later walks to Buell Fraser's house and is, according to witnesses, he's carrying a package reported to contain curtain rods for his rooming house. They leave for the depository. 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., Oswald's final workday commences at the Texas School Bank Depository. 12 o'clock, he takes his lunch like usual. It is stated that witnesses see Oswald from anywhere from 12 to 12:30 p.m. on different various floors of the building. At approximately 12:30, shots are fired in Dealey Plaza, and the officials and Oswald the time is run out for Oswald because the officials are looking for him at 12:30 after the shots are fired. So that is the timeline up to the actual shots fired.
Okay, and as soon as the shots were fired, you had people running into the building, and what they were looking for was, witnesses had said they saw a gun out of the 6th floor. Now, Lee Harvey Oswald was found by the guy who runs the book depository, along with the police officer who ran in there, on the 2nd floor drinking a Coke. He was not out of breath. He would have had to run down 6 flights of stairs to get in that position. So that's a question mark right there. Why did that happen? But I believe Lee Harvey Oswald, who had ties to the CIA, I think he understood what was going on that day. He got out. He left the school book depository at 12:45. All right. He got onto a bus, went 7 blocks. The bus isn't moving much because of traffic in Dealey Plaza. But shortly after getting on, he gets off and gets into a cab driven by William Whaley, which takes him back to his boarding house. Now, a lot of people are going to ask, why did he have a boarding house? Why did he, how did Marina wake him up at their apartment? All right. It's because they were having marital problems. And Lee was basically almost estranged at that point. And he was
homeless?
No, he was living in a boarding house under the name O.H. Lee at that point. All right. Now, again, why did he? Who knows? We don't know. No one knows. 12:57. Father Oscar Huber sees Kennedy in the hospital and performs the last rites on him. All right. 1:15. After being told to patrol the Oak Cliff section of Dallas, Officer J.D. Tippett speaks to someone who fits Oswald's description. Shortly after, police hear a civilian on a police-rated line saying, "It's a police officer. Someone shot him." Now, that refers to J.D. Tippett, the officer in the Oak Cliff section, who was gunned down. They're trying to put that on Lee Harvey Oswald. However, there were 2 different bullet casings found at the scene, and there were 6 eyewitnesses that were not interviewed by the Warren Commission, and they tell a completely different story. Aquila Clemens is one of them. She basically told everybody, no, this didn't happen this way. There was 2 guys that shot him. One ran one way, another ran another way, but she was never interviewed.
Can I do something real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Because I like doing this, especially with inside the podcast. Can I read what the official story was inside the Warren Commission about after the tracking Lee Harvey Oswald?
All right, you can after I get the official timeline.
But it's the same thing, and
it's not the same thing.
I want you to debunk it as I go.
It's not the same thing, and that's what I'm going to do now. Just give me 1 second here, okay? All right, at 1:26 p.m., they started. Right, they pronounced him dead. Lyndon Johnson gets on Air Force One, and he gets sworn in as the president. At 1:40, Oswald runs into a movie theater that is playing the film War is Hell. He is seen sneaking in. Now, you got to ask yourself this. The movie theater was 75 cents to get in. Lee Oswald supposedly jumped the turnstile, got into the building, and that prompted them to call the police. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you got a guy that just goes into a movie theater and doesn't pay, I don't need to see why you would have to send 30 fucking cop cars to get him. But that's what happened that day. And they arrested him inside the movie theater. So it was there's a little overreach as far as the, what do you call that? Force. There shouldn't have been that much force. You got to ask yourself why. Okay. Officially at 2 p.m., Johnson takes the oath. And they start moving the body out of the hospital in Parkland to get him onto the plane to take him back to Washington, which was also illegal. The body, under Texas law, it was a Texas crime. Back then, up to that point, it was not a federal crime to shoot the president. But somehow the Secret Service ran these people over.
Hold on.
Wait.
It was not a federal crime.
It was not a federal crime to shoot the president of the United States.
Assassinate the president of the United States.
It was a local crime. It was, yeah. Okay, this is a fact.
What?
These are facts.
That's mind blowing, right?
All right.
There.
So they wanted to keep the body to do a what do you call that? An autopsy, and the Secret Service said absolutely not. They rushed people in there. They just said, you know what? We're taking the body. You're getting away. You're going to get killed. And they took the body out of there. Now, there's a lot of speculation as to what went on there. All right, after he was pronounced dead, you have people that say that he was put in a bronze ceremonial casket, loaded on the back end of the plane. They had to saw a piece of the back of the plane, of the seat, to get the casket in. And that's what took the president back to Washington to go to Bethesda for his autopsy. Problem with that is, when they opened the casket, when the people inside the hospital said they wrapped a towel around his head and they laid him in the casket to put him in there. When he gets to Bethesda, it turns out that the people who took the x-rays took him out of a gray shipping casket.
The fuck?
Okay, that was zippered from head to toe. Completely different stories from Dallas to there. Now, there's a guy by the name of John Liggett. John Liggett was a mortician in Dallas. And what happened was he was called, he had ties to Jack Ruby, he had ties to the Dallas underworld, and his wife at the time said he had to go. He didn't know when he was going to come back, but he had to do something. He got back, he left, no one knows where he went. When Jack Ruby shot Oswald, he came home. Now, the rumor has it that this guy somehow did something to the body on that plane and made his wounds look like he was shot from behind. When we all saw the Zapruder film, that's just not the case. Now, that's speaking on John Liggett, and we'll get into him a little deeper later. But yeah, Joe.
No, we're gonna take a short little break.
Okay,
and then we'll come back. And like I said, I want to follow the official story of Lee Harvey Oswald after the shooting.
Okay.
And this is from the Warren Commission.
Okay.
And then we'll go back and forth on that, because that's a very interesting story to sit there and trying to debunk. But we will be right back.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Harsh to win seal. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics.
Hi, this is Anthony from Multimedia Mafia. If you love what we do and you want to know more about us, head on over to greenarrowmedia.org. On there, you're going to find links to both Multimedia Mafia show and our sister show, Is This Real?, which is all about conspiracies and aliens and all sorts of wonderful stuff like that. If you want to support us, head on over to our merch page where you can buy a hat or a mug. We have lots of different designs and cool colors. If you want to meet us, we got pictures up there. We have a little biography, and you can even stream the show right through the website. And hey, don't forget to check out our YouTube link, where you can check out all the filming that we do right on our YouTube page. Check us out, greenarrowmedia.org.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. So we, like I said before our little break, we're going to go through Lee Harvey Oswald's timeline officially from the official story, from the official Warren Commission story.
Officially.
Of what he went through and what they said this is what happened. So ready? So pop, Kennedy gets shot. So witness Howard Brennan was sitting across the street from the Texas School Book Depository and watching the motorcade go by. He notified police that he heard a shot come from above and looked up to see a man with a rifle fire another shot from the southeast corner window of the 6th floor. He said he had seen the same man earlier looking through the window. Brennan gave a description of the shooter, and Dallas police subsequently broadcast descriptions at 12:45 p.m., 12:48, and 12:55 p.m.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Because
see? I couldn't get through one fucking line.
Well, first of all, I don't know who this gentleman is. Okay. But I can tell you one thing.
Howard Brennan.
Howard Brennan. That's nice. Nice name. All right. Now, the description. Do you have the description that they gave out? Can you read that?
They do not have the description up there.
I'll give you the description. The description was a 5'6", 160-pound white person.
A white man.
Hold on. That was in that window that they saw in the window. Okay. I have a little issue with that. Across the street, it's up in a window on the 6th floor. You're not going to tell me that he could pinpoint that that's who we're looking for.
Well,
so there, that's bullshit.
A little tidbit, because I looked into Brennan's backstory. During the police lineup, they brought out Lee Harvey Oswald, and Brennan failed to positively identify Oswald as the shooter that he had seen in the window.
Right, because he would only make out the shooter. Whoever that wasn't his description. It was just the people that had to get that description out there.
He would only tell the police, referring to Oswald in the lineup, "He looks like him, but the man I saw wasn't disheveled like this fella. I just can't be positive."
Okay.
So, after the second shot was fired, Brennan recalled, "This man I saw previously was aiming for his last shot and maybe paused for another second, as though to assure himself that he hadn't hit his mark." 6 Dallas police officers, including Lieutenant J.C. Day, found the long bag which Frazier described near the 6th floor depository window, where Oswald was determined to have fired gunshots at President Kennedy.
All right, now you're going a little. See, this is what you want to play all over the place. When you say Frazier, you got to come across as Frazier is the guy who drove him to work that day, and when Lee put the package in the back of his car, he asked Lee what they were, and Lee said, "They're curtain rods for my rooming house." Okay, Frazier's only testimony is that he thought it was a gun. Now you're telling me that they found that package rolled up somewhere in the sniper's nest? Is that what you're saying?
They said that 6 Dallas police officers, including Lieutenant J.C. Day, found the long bag, which Frazier described near the 6th floor depository window, where Oswald was determined to have fired gunshots at President Kennedy, with Day writing, "Found next to the 6th floor window, gun fired from, may have been used to carry gun."
Right.
The bag was
what it may have been used to is very simple. It connects Lee Harvey Oswald with Frazier and the fact that there might have been a gun there.
Well, it says the bag was 38 inches long. It had marks on the inside consistent with those of a rifle, a Mannlicher Carcano rifle, and 3 shell casings were found near the open 6th floor window as well.
Time out. The 3, did they tell you, do they describe the 3
Again,
casings?
this is just...
Do they describe the 3 casings? This guy, I know the answer. Okay,
No,
if this is right from the Warren Commission, I've read the book 1,000 times. I read all 26 volumes. Now, all right.
Damn. That's more than Britannia.
They tried to tell you that
More than Harry Potter.
the 3 casings were found neatly stacked next to each other. Well, here's the problem I have with that. When you have a bolt action, when you're ejecting the thing, they fly anywhere they're not going to neatly fly.
Yeah, we all know that from...
Okay.
I've played Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
I've played Call of Duty, yes.
Shit right there. That's number one. Go ahead.
According to the investigations, Oswald hid and covered the rifle with boxes after the shooting, descended through the rear stairwell. About 90 seconds after the shots rang out, Oswald was encountered in the 2nd floor lunchroom by Dallas police officer Marion L. Baker, who had his gun drawn.
Okay, time out.
So wait. So they say that he went from the 6th
floor to the 2nd floor to the
in 90 seconds.
And ordered and like sat down and ordered a Coke or something.
No, the Coke came out of a machine. Here's the problem.
In 90 seconds, that's fast as fuck.
That's
fast as fuck, boy.
On the back staircase, you had 2 women that were on the 3rd floor during that time.
Running down the stairs, right?
They weren't running. They were walking. They didn't know what was going on. They were just walking on the third floor staircase.
So hold up. So they saw him running down the steps?
They were interviewed that there was nobody on the staircase, but you won't find that in the Warren Commission report.
Oh, shit.
So the patrolman was accompanied by Oswald's supervisor, Roy Truly. Baker made the mistake of letting Oswald pass after Truly identified him as an employee. Baker and Truly incorrectly assumed that Oswald was not a suspect because he was an employee of the building.
No, they basically they were asked when
wait, I'm getting to that.
Everything needs to be debunked.
Okay, hold on.
Go ahead.
According to Baker, which was the cop, Oswald did not appear to be nervous or out of breath.
Right.
Truly said that Oswald looked startled when Baker pointed his gun directly at him.
Oh, my God.
What?
I would be startled, too.
Mrs. Robert Reed, a clerical supervisor at the depository who returned to her office within 2 minutes after the shooting, said she saw Oswald was very calm on the second floor with a can of Coca-Cola in his hands.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored. As they walked past each other, Mrs. Reed said to Oswald, the president has been shot, to which he mumbled something in response, but Reed did not understand him. Oswald was believed to have left the depository through the front entrance just before police sealed it off. Truly later pointed out to officers that Oswald was the only employee that he was certain was missing. At about 12:40, 10 minutes after the shooting, Oswald boarded a city bus, probably due to heavy traffic. He requested a transfer from the driver and got off 2 blocks later. Oswald then took a taxi cab to his rooming house at 1026 North Beckley Avenue and entered through the front door at about 1 p.m. According to his housekeeper, Earlene Roberts, yes, Oswald immediately went to his room, walking pretty fast. Roberts said that Oswald left a very few minutes later, zipping up a jacket he was not wearing when he had entered earlier. As Oswald left, Roberts looked out the window of her house and saw him standing at the northbound Beckley Avenue bus stop in front of her house. The Warren Commission concluded that at approximately 1:15, Dallas patrolman J.D. Tippit drove up in his patrol car alongside Oswald, presumably because Oswald resembled the police broadcast description of the man by witness Howard Brennan, who fired shots at the president as a presidential motorcade. He encountered Oswald near the north corner of East 10th Street and North Patton Avenue. This location is about 9/10 of a mile southeast of Oswald's rooming house, a distance that the Warren Commission concluded Oswald could have easily walked. Tippit pulled alongside Oswald and apparently exchanged words with him through the right front of or vent window. Shortly after 1:15, Tippit exited his car. Oswald immediately fired his pistol and killed the policeman with 4 shots. Numerous witnesses heard the shots and saw Oswald flee the scene holding a revolver. 9 positively identified him as the man who shot Tippit and fled. 4 cartridge cases found at the scene were identified by expert witnesses. Identified by expert witnesses before the Warren Commission and the House Select Committee as having been fired from the revolver later in Oswald's possession, excluding all other weapons. However, the bullets taken from Tippit's body could not be positively identified as having been fired from Oswald's revolver, as the bullets were too extensively damaged to make conclusive assessments.
Yeah, see, that's the problem I have right there. So the whole story kind of like beats around the bullets in this thing. You had casings that were 2 different guns that were fired at Tippit that day. Now, earlier in the day, there was also witnesses that saw Tippit drive by the rooming house, Oswald's rooming house, and beep the horn. Now, why would that be? Why do you think?
Oh, I've never heard that, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, the witness, you're not going to find it in that thing. That book needs to be taken out of the libraries and put in a fiction section because it's bullshit. The entire thing is just it's a disgrace.
Well, I haven't gotten to the rest of Texas Theater yet either.
All right, well, go ahead.
Yikes.
So, shoe store manager Johnny Brewer testified that he saw Oswald ducking into the entrance alcove of his store. Suspicious of this activity, Brewer watched Oswald continue up the street and slip without paying into the nearby Texas Theater, where the film War is Hell was playing.
Van Heflin. Okay.
He alerted the theater's ticket clerk, who telephoned police about 1:40 p.m. As police arrived, the house lights were brought up, and Brewer pointed out Oswald sitting near the rear of the theater. Police officer Nick McDonald testified that he was the first to reach Oswald and that Oswald seemed ready to surrender, saying, "Well, it is all over now." McDonald said that Oswald pulled out a pistol tucked into the front of his pants, then pointed the pistol at him and pulled the trigger. McDonald stated that the pistol did not fire because the pistol's hammer came down on the webbing between the thumb and the index finger of his hand as he grabbed for the pistol. McDonald also said that Oswald struck him, but that he struck back and Oswald was disarmed. As he was led from the theater, Oswald shouted he was a victim of police brutality. Oswald was formally arraigned for the murder of Officer Tippit at 7:10 p.m. Soon after his arrest, Oswald encountered reporters in the hallway. Oswald declared, "I didn't shoot anybody, and they're taking me in because of the fact I lived in the Soviet Union. I'm just a patsy." Later, at an arranged press meeting, a reporter asked, "Did you kill the president?" And Oswald, who by that time had been advised of the charge of murdering Tippit, but had not yet been arraigned in Kennedy's death, answered, "No, I have not been charged with it. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet. The first thing I heard about it was when the newspaper reporters in the hallway asked me that question." As he was led from the room, the question was called out, What did you do in Russia? And how did you hurt your eye? Oswald answered, "A policeman hit me." And then by early the next morning, shortly after 1:30, he had been arraigned for the assassination of President Kennedy.
Okay, so what do you want to know?
Well, I mean, what you count as bullshit in that story?
Well, yeah, I have an issue. Again, we're going to go back to the bullets. Now, see, we haven't hit on the bullet yet for Kennedy, with the pristine bullet that supposedly hit Oswald. That was shot from behind, went through Kennedy's neck, through his wrist, and
yes,
then somehow
we will get to the magic bullet theory later.
Yeah, that's a nice theory to have.
That is one thing we have to sit there and actually have a whole session on. That
bullet actually came out pristine, but yet everything that hit Tippit got crushed up, and it was too bad. No, they didn't want to identify it because they couldn't, because they knew that the Tippit thing was a setup. It was pure and simple. All right, they needed to put Oswald in that situation when Oswald probably wasn't even there to begin with, and the witnesses that didn't get in front of the Warren Commission said that exact same thing. There was two men, one ran south, one ran north, So, I don't know what you're looking to debunk on that, because it's partial true. Everything you said, what he said, everything that was true. So, now you want to go with this one. Now you want to go to the possible scenarios as far as what he did here.
Well, to me, what obviously just him leaving the school book depository is just very weird in my mind, and how they could sit there and say that he went from the 6th floor to the 2nd floor in 90 seconds, and people didn't see him. People saw that he was not out of breath. He was drinking a soda calmly, and then just leaves at the front fucking door.
What we haven't touched upon is who was Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay, what ties did he have with the?
That's a whole nother podcast.
No, that isn't. That's going to give you the basis why he left there. Lee Harvey Oswald was a CIA operative. That's a fact now. That's not even a joke. It's not even something that was speculation. In my opinion, I believe Lee Harvey Oswald knew that there was going to be an attempt on the president's life, and was in that building because, well, first of all, he worked there. He got the job through George de Mohrenschildt, which was a Russian immigrant who lived in Dallas, and got him the job there. And I believe George de Mohrenschildt had something to do with it as far as setting up Oswald to be the patsy.
You had a question, Eric?
What's a patsy?
A patsy is someone who takes the fall, who they build up evidence towards, even though that person, like a sheep, like they
a scapegoat.
A scapegoat, yeah. They build up evidence towards this person, even though that person didn't do it. Like if I stole a can of soda, but I make it look like you stole a can of soda. Like I'll put your smell or weed or something, something like that around it.
He really said, "I'll put your smell." Of all things, I get the scenario. But like, wow.
What? I mean, like,
I got it. I get it.
Like with Joshua,
I could smell though.
I could put like, I don't know, hair shavings. I don't know.
Hatred.
Coffee. I could put fucking coffee there.
All right.
But yeah.
So he was CIA.
He was an operative for the CIA that has been since revealed in the last 20 years. I believe that Lee Oswald thought there was something going on. And the funny thing is, Lee Oswald, on the night before the assassination, there was a telex that was delivered to the FBI office in Dallas.
Dad,
what's a telex?
Can you please explain what a telex is?
A telex is...
We're part of the modern generation here.
Right. A telex is basically how they communicated. It was like a machine that would teletype stuff, and you would rip it off, and it would say, "Oh, look at this." In other words,
one of those things.
It was like a typewriter. It
was like a text message. In
no, it's literally no. Y'all really missing it. It's literally an old ass fax machine.
Yes,
kind of. Yeah. Now, what happened was that the telex that was taken off of there was given to the guy in charge, and certain people believe that was Lee Oswald alerting the FBI to what he knew when he found out what was going on the next day. And
I'm guessing they all just brushed it aside and just
now,
no.
We can sit here all day and pick on Lee Oswald and say he was a shooter because history is telling you he's a shooter. I don't believe, in my opinion, Lee Harvey Oswald fired a shot. They tested him that night for a paraffin test to see if he shot a gun. He did not shoot a rifle that day. And how you can decipher the difference is when you're shooting a rifle, you're holding it up to your cheek. There would have been the paraffin test would have came back positive on his cheek, on his forearm. It didn't. However,
I'm guessing a paraffin test is like for gunpowder or something.
Right. It tests if you shot a weapon that day. Now, it did come back positive for a handgun, but that could have been that he was shooting the day before or whatever. He shot through somebody's window. I don't remember the story, but that could have been that. All right.
Oh, and they try to get that.
Now his fingerprints were never found on the weapon when they tested the weapon. However, his palm print was later found on the weapon after he was dead. Okay. And what happened was they went to the FBI people showed up at the mortician place.
Wait, they had forensics like that back then in the 60s?
Yeah. Well, this is basic stuff.
It's
not like you have now. And the two guys came in. They went to Lee Harvey Oswald. When they were done, Lee Harvey Oswald had ink on his palm. Okay, and the mortician said, "I know because I had to clean it off for the funeral." So
like fresh ink,
right? What were the FBI taking palm prints from him, and then all of a sudden later it shows up on the weapon?
My question is, wasn't there was two different guns though, right?
Okay, the first gun that was found in the one section of the 6th floor. And it was reported on what it was. And the second gun, obviously, was the monumental Carcano that they tried to link with Oswald. But the reason why they linked it with Oswald is because he bought a gun and sent it to a post office box under the alias of Lee Heidel. And when questioned about it in the thing, they asked him, "Why did you do that?" He goes, "Well, you're the cop. You figure it out." They never gave you an answer why he purchased that.
Just for clarification, the rifle was Mannlicher Carcano 6.5 millimeter model 91/38 Italian rifle.
Yeah.
What was the gun they found though? Because they didn't find that.
No, they found. I can't remember what the gun they found was. I don't remember it offhand, but it was a rifle and it was stuffed in the.
Look it up.
It was stuffed in the
That's what I'm looking up. It says allegedly here the gun that killed President John F. Kennedy was a Mannlicher Carcano 6.5.
Yes, that was the gun that was killed.
Authorities found the weapon on the 6th floor of the Texas School Depository shortly after the assassination.
So that was the first one.
No. Here's the problem. There's a picture out there of someone, a video or picture of someone coming down a hallway with the gun in his hand, bare prints and everything. And
that was at the police department.
And someone said that was not a Mannlicher Carcano.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know what the hell you just said for the last part.
Well, it wasn't the gun. It wasn't the rifle.
Wasn't the one that's...
Okay. They said in the picture it was a different rifle than what was described to kill Kennedy.
How this happened, in my opinion, was Lee Harvey Oswald had all of this stuff had to take place perfectly for Lee Oswald to get blamed, and of course, the buying the rifle, the Frazier with the rifle going to work that day. None of it's proven. None of it was proven. It was all, hearsay. But somehow all of it got together, and that was the evidence that was, that was given to the Dallas Police Department. And the district attorney of Dallas had all this evidence against Lee Oswald that he said he had. And they were telling you that night, we got the man who killed the president. But yet there was no investigation. There was nothing going on that day. Okay. He wasn't charged with the crime until like 12:30 the next morning.
Well, there's one little tidbit I want to say, and then we're going to take a short break. There was reports about Oswald being a very good shot, right? That's what they said. He was a very good shot, but I also heard
that's what they say.
I also heard reports from the people that he was in the military with that he couldn't hit a target from 15 feet away.
He had what they call Maggie's draw, which means he sucked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, that's with the people that he went to. And
if you're a bad shot, the man like Arcano with a misaligned scope isn't going to kill too many people from 90 yards away through heavy foliage. So not going to happen.
We're going to take a short little break here, guys. We'll be right back, and then we're going to dive into the magic bullet theory because this is going to be fun. We'll be right back.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello, nerds. Come listen to the History Nerds United podcast, and let's make history fun again. We interview today's best authors, whether they are established Pulitzer Prize winners or someone debuting their first book. Let us show you that history is not a boring class you took in high school, but a place where the best stories come from. And we don't just cover history. We also love to chat about true crime, biographies, memoirs, and so much more. So head on over to History Nerds United and let us introduce you to your new favorite book and learn the story behind the story.
History Nerds United.
Hey, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. If you need a professional photographer, then we here at Green Arrow Media recommend Captured Moments by Danielle. Professional headshots, school pictures, family, holiday vacations, you name it, she can shoot it. She even does engagement photos as well as boudoir shots for both women and couples. So if you're located in New Jersey or Pennsylvania and you're looking for a professional photographer, remember to contact Captured Moments by Danielle at www.capturedmomentsbydanielle.com.
And welcome back. And like always, in between our little break sessions as we talk, we sit here and have so many epiphanies that you guys later hear down in the episodes. And we're going to talk about one of those epiphanies right now because Joshua, my engineer extraordinaire.
Great Roblox son.
Oh, great Roblox son. You just had an epiphany yourself about this shooting and how long it took with the rifle and, the single bullet theory, which we're actually about to talk about. So just talk about that a little bit.
Total fucking bullshit. Is that what that is? All right. I don't care what anyone says. All right. This original rifle, if I'm correct, was about 1830s. There was a successor to that rifle in about 1891, I believe it was. And then again, there was another model which is closely related to the one that they said Lee Harvey Oswald used, and it's the Carcano Modello 1938. It's basically the same thing, if anybody knows, the American M1 Garand. Now, those are bolt-action rifles. And it really annoys
the disappointment.
me. Yeah,
you hear the disappointment.
It really annoys me that they're going to sit there and try to tell people who... And this goes out to all my gamers who even remotely know about military weapons. Because, not to brag, but if you play like Call of Duty, Battlefield, anything like that, a lot of those guns are damn near 100% accurate. So, other than the so-called perks that they use in those games that try to boost your firing speed and stuff like that, actual bases of these weapons, there's no way in hell you're getting off, what was it? You guys just told me it was 3 shots? consecutively within how many seconds?
The official story is 3 shots, 2 hitting.
Okay, so it says, given the earliest possible, this is talking about the Zapruder film, in which we have not talked about yet, but given the earliest possible frame at which Kennedy could have been struck, which would be frame 205, and the minimum 42 frames, which is 2.3 seconds required between shots, there seemed to be insignificant time for separate bullets to be fired from the rifle.
Yeah, total bullshit. It's bolt action, people, all right? That means you have to grab the bolt action lever, lift it up, pull it back, so that way another bullet can chamber, push it forward, and then pull it back down. Right. Then you have to readjust your aim, pull it back up to your cheek because it is an old school rifle, and then aim again. So you mean to tell me that 3 shots were shot, what were they saying, 6 seconds or something like that? Like 3 shots within that time frame?
7-8 seconds.
There's no way in fuck.
Well,
there's no way in fuck. Even actual people from the military who specialize in rifles can't even do it that fast.
Well,
I'm pretty sure the basis of them for actual bolt actions, which they pretty much don't really use anymore, at least not the old school way, is about like 15 seconds.
Well, that
for
will,
3 shots.
That will lead us in. That will lead us into what they call the single bullet path, the single bullet theory, or magic bullet, as they like to call it. So, this is what the single bullet theory is. Ready? So with a single,
I'm right there with you.
Let me get that call for you, buddy.
With a single shot from Oswald's rifle, a 6.5 millimeter bullet pierced Kennedy's suit coat from the rear before puncturing his body to the right of his spine. The bullet.
So they said it themselves right there that the shot came in from the rear.
Yeah, from the rear.
Okay.
So because that's where they said it. It says from the rear. That's the official story.
And exited his throat right
so
where the
so it came from the so you're trying to tell me that this thing came from the back of his it hit him in the back?
No.
It
here.
Okay.
Now here.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so listen, so ready. Remember, this is a downward angle.
Okay.
So because you're talking 6th floor to the ground. So you're
60 feet and maybe like 90.
So with a single shot from Oswald's rifle, a 6.5 millimeter bullet pierced Kennedy's suit coat, so his coat, from the rear, puncturing his body to the right of his spine. So right here. The bullet exited Kennedy's body through the front of his neck below his Adam's apple. So it punctured him to the right of his spine, exited, and went up through his body, and then exited his throat. Right there. Right there. That's bullshit. The bullet, later dubbed Commission Exhibit 399 or CE 399, then punctured Connolly's back, shattering his fifth right rib bone. After exiting the front of Connolly's chest, the bullet shot through his right wrist, breaking one of his wrist bones before burying itself beneath the skin of Connolly's left thigh.
What the fuck? This just sounds... What the fuck?
But the problem with all of that, I mean, even if you were to buy this theory, the bullet is not going to come out in pristine condition.
Well, yeah, okay, so this is what it says. So this path of travel, considered highly unlikely by critics of the single bullet theory, means that CE 399 went through the bodies of 2 adult men, tore through about 15 inches of human flesh, broke 2 bones, and punctured 15 different layers of clothing. The bullet was recovered at Parkland Memorial Hospital on a gurney in the hospital corridor. It was later determined that the gurney was next to one that carried Connolly into the hospital. Now, it was fully intact, too. It was
fucking
the single bullet theory doesn't exclude additional shots.
That's why it's called the magic bullet theory, because a demon must have shot that motherfucking... What the fuck?
No, a bullet, when it comes in contact with any type of bones
it
within
shatters.
a person's body, has some type of a shatter effect. He said it broke 2 bones. Mm-hmm. So that means it should no way in hell be in any type of full... one whole contact piece.
So 2 bones,
right.
15 inches of human flesh, you said? Or 15 layers of clothes. What was that one?
It was... Sorry, I went down a little bit.
A lot of human flesh.
It went through... the bodies of 2 adult men tore through about 15 inches of human flesh, broke 2 bones, and punctured 15 different layers of clothing.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, bro. There's no way. There's no way that can... No way.
The scary part of this whole thing is we haven't got to the headshot yet. Now, apparently, this was the first shot that was fired.
That was one shot. One shot did all of that damage.
But the official theory, and I'm going to say the official theory because it is a theory, the official theory was when the first shot was fired, Kennedy looked over his shoulder like this because he heard a shot. And on the Zapruder film, that corresponds with it.
Yeah.
Now, the second shot is the one that's going to hit Kennedy and do this magic dance, whatever. Yeah. Problem that they didn't tell everybody was, all right, out of the supposed 3 shots that were fired from the 6th floor of the book depository, one of them clearly missed and hit the bridge abutment of the underpass. Because James Tague, James Tague was standing there, and he just recently passed. And I was on Facebook friends with this guy. Okay, it hit the thing, and it lodged a piece of the fragment lodged in his cheek. And you see him later on wiping his cheek. He had blood on it. They found out years later, after the House Select Committee on Assassinations, they went back to Dallas. It was a little earlier than that. They went back to Dallas, and he said, this is where it hit me. So they looked down in the ground, and sure enough, there was fragment of a bullet inside the ground right there, still to that day.
You want to piss Dad off?
All right, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Because I'm going to considerably piss you off after this.
Then they dug it out. It was this big, 1/4 inch. That was all it was. Put it in the National Archives. Later, people wanted to see it. They were told they threw it out because it was not enough space in the National Archives to keep this.
They threw it out?
They threw it out.
They threw out a bullet that that
it wasn't
killed,
a bullet. It was a fragment of a bullet.
Fragment of a bullet.
So, but the whole thing is, one bullet clearly missed. Now, you got a guy that can't shoot, misaligned scope, through heavy foliage, all right, 90 fucking yards away, with a magic, you have to give it a magic bullet. You have to do that, because that's got to explain. That's going to explain Connolly's wounds. It's going to explain Kennedy's wounds.
I believe it's 10 different injuries.
And what they said was, and to make this theory plausible, and to make it look like there's a shooter from the back, the hole in his neck was not there. All right, it was a tracheotomy done in Parkland Hospital to get him to start breathing. All right, they enlarged the hole to start breathing. Now, I'm not saying that whatever shot didn't shoot him from the back and hit him in the throat from the back, because the guy said I forgot the attending physician's name. He says there was a hole there already. We enlarged it. Now that was made to look like that was an exit wound. It wasn't an exit wound. They said from the thing that was an entrance wound. Now, if that's an entrance wound, that means the shit that happened behind him, only one shot was fired, and that's the one that hit the bridge abutment. If there was an entrance wound,
missed, right?
Yes, the one.
If it was an entrance wound from the front, that clearly means there was another shooter in the grassy knoll or somewhere around. But the grassy knoll is probably the only place possible.
Either with that, if that means there's an entrance wound in his throat,
it's a conspiracy.
It's a conspiracy, and that means there had to be someone in front of him shooting at him.
Yeah,
had to. Right. But like always,
very bad
so then there must be a second shooter if it's not
Oswald. Because if he noticed,
just like usual,
someone missed. That's more than enough proof there.
Just like usual, I love flipping both sides of the coin here. So there is support for the magic bullet theory.
Of course there is.
How? Motherfucking witchcraft.
Hold on. So numerous reenactments, computer analysis, research into the Zapruder film, and other evidence have lent considerable credibility to the single bullet theory.
That's so, pagans, all of you.
John McAdams, a professor of political science at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, is a well-known expert on the Kennedy assassination.
Time out right there. No. First of all, McAdams, I don't want to hear about John McAdams. I don't want to hear about him. He's not a it's funny. Who wrote the article? Because everything you see about debunking comes from him because he debunked it. Because he believes in the bullshit that's been out there. He now is, they do it all the time. They do it all the fucking time. They did it in 9/11. They're doing it now. If these guys are experts. They're experts. If they believe the official bullshit that you're being lied to, all right, they're an expert. But again, if you question it, I'm not an expert. I'm a moron. Okay, but they're experts. McAdams has got his fucking shit all over the place. The guy's a fucking Quaker.
So who also makes a practice of debunking
Quaker
Piker
debunking Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories. McAdams on his voluminous, whatever the fuck.
Voluminous, God.
Yeah, there you go. Website dedicated to the killing offers substantial evidence for the single bullet theory. Thomas Canning was a NASA scientist who studied the single bullet theory for the House Select Committee on Assassinations, McAdams wrote, referring to the congressional committee that was convened in 1976 to re-examine the work of the Warren Commission. The result was an alignment that showed the bullet leaving Kennedy's throat to strike Connally in the back near the shoulder, which is where Connally was actually struck, McAdams wrote.
Yeah, well, that's all bullshit.
He added failure analysis associates in work done for a 1992 mock trial Lee Harvey Oswald for the American Bar Association used 3D computer animation and modeling techniques to research the bullet trajectory and concluded that the single bullet trajectory works.
All right, time out.
How? Y'all all stupid.
Okay, here's the situation. If you recall back in the movie JFK, where at the trial, and what Garrison said at the trial, he said, and I quote, "A lot of people can tell you a lot of things. They can show you that an elephant can be tied to a daisy and hung from a cliff. They could show you all that and give you all the reasons to do it. Doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean a fucking thing. All right, you got to have common sense here. So, MC McAdams, whatever, anything out there, folks.
Here we go.
Don't read into this clown.
Here's another one. More recently, a television program that aired in 2004 on the Discovery Channel attempted to duplicate the conditions of the assassination using up-to-date forensic research and materials. Their reenactment, shown on Unsolved History, JFK Beyond the Magic Bullet, found that a single bullet duplicated almost exactly the path of travel postulated by proponents of the single bullet theory.
Of course they did. Through a fucking computer, I can make it work. I can make anything work through a computer. Do it again. Get some dummies, put them in a fucking car, and do it again. They didn't do it the first time. It's a lie. It's a fucking bullshit story. And even if they did do it, the bullet doesn't come out in pristine condition. I don't give a fuck. I'm getting sick of this bullshit when they try to pump this shit to the American people. You got to wake the fuck up, folks. It doesn't make any sense, okay? Wanted to piss me off. You succeeded.
Well, here are more criticisms of the single bullet theory. I just like reading this stuff because it's very...
Move on. We got more to go.
Oh, I know. I
got a bedtime, bro.
Yeah,
I got a dog.
All right. Hold on.
A dog.
The trajectory of the bullet that supposedly penetrated Kennedy's neck and Connally's torso is one of the many points of contention of the single bullet theory. Critics charge that because of the position of the two men in the limousine, the bullet would have to change course in midair to travel as proposed.
Okay.
The fact that Connally was seen holding his hat in his right hand also caused suspicion, since he was supposedly wounded in the right wrist by a single bullet. The unusual circumstances surrounding the discovery of CE-399 bullet reportedly picked up off the floor by a nurse or discovered by a hospital engineer, according to various reports, and the bullet's so-called pristine condition have likewise raised the hackles of conspiracy theorists. The single bullet theory gives credibility to the conclusion of the Warren Commission and other research that Oswald acted as a lone gunman who shot Kennedy because of Oswald's pro-communist leanings, and or because of his depressed mental state.
I'll go on a limb here.
That's so fucking weird, bro.
I don't believe that Lee Oswald fired a shot that day. I don't think Lee Oswald had anything to do with it. I don't believe he was even on the 6th floor that day. All right? There's no evidence. There is none, period, at all. And I defy anybody to give me the evidence other than what McAdams will say, whatever the fuck. There is no evidence. None. So stop with the fucking bullshit, people. It did not happen the way they say it happened. Go ahead.
Well,
now, but having said all this, I want to move on from this because having said that the magic bullet theory is bullshit, all right?
Well, if you say the magic bullet theory is bullshit, then you're believing in a conspiracy at that point.
Well, no, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm believing in. There was a shooter behind the grassy knoll that shot right over Zapruder's head.
Grassy knoll theory, yes.
Okay, shot right over Zapruder's head, felt it whiz by his ear, all right, and struck Kennedy in the fucking head. I believe it shot him in the throat. I believe it also shot him in the head.
If you sit there and look at the Zapruder film,
right?
Now, if you're getting shot from behind, think about it.
Well, they never counted on the Zapruder film.
Well, I know. If you were getting shot from behind and you watched that video, you would think by naturally getting shot from behind and at an angle, so you're basically the back right of Kennedy being shot at.
You're going to lunge forward.
You're going to lunge forward off to the left.
Yeah.
Kennedy goes back off to the left. Meaning, and of course he has this over here. And then he got shot in the right. You could see the right front blast out. Meaning he was being shot from the front and then move off to the left, the front right. Which, if you put the front right in of where the trajectory of that bullet should be coming from, it would be the grassy knoll.
I believe in what I see and what doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean you can't sit there and debunk that. Being shot from behind, regardless of what it is, of who it is, or how it was, anybody that gets shot from behind is not going to lunge backwards. They're going to lunge forward.
Yeah, and there were people on the grassy knoll that day that actually heard this. All right, there was people that witnessed the puff of smoke coming above the fence. Okay, the one guy, I can't remember his name.
With all those videos that they had of that day, I wish someone pointed one of those fucking cameras over to that grassy knoll.
Nobody was going to, Joe, just like nobody's got video of the shooting coming out of the depository.
But you would think, like, okay, I understand you got to focus on Kennedy. I get that. I mean, but I do you remember the JFK film I did back in high school? Mm-hmm. And how many, I did the documentary little thing I did, and Joel did voiceover of it.
I think so.
How many, there was at least 8 different or 9 different recordings of that day, of these 35 millimeter films that people had.
Yeah, there was also another recording that nobody seemed to be talking about, but they found it in the House Select Committee in 1978 when they rebunked it, when they re-examined the whole thing. An open mic on a Dallas patrolman's mic was stuck open, and it clearly gives 4 to 6 shots.
I've never heard of that.
Well,
so.
you got to read that because it's clearly it's right there. There's 4 to 6 shots that were shot, and it got caught on audio. And the official position of the United States now is yes, there was more than 3 shots fired. But yet they have 2 official positions. One is 63, one is 78, and both of them they won't debunk, like they won't say no, well this one doesn't mean anything, well
you have 2 different positions, and at that point if you have 2 different positions, that is a conspiracy.
No, what I'm talking about, there's 2 official stories.
Well, that is a conspiracy then,
right?
If you have 2, if you're not sticking to one story and saying this is what it is,
well, the mere fact that there's 4 to 6 shots right then and there, that tells you don't have
that's what I'm saying.
That's it, it's over with, we're done. It's two guys shooting now.
Especially 4 to 6 shots, like not one person can't do that in like 7 seconds.
And you're not doing that from one gun, especially
from different angles too. You can't.
So they found when they immediately after the shooting, you had people going through the crowd telling everybody that they were Secret Service, showing badges. Problem is, no Secret Service were in the crowd that day on Dealey Plaza at all.
No, they were only on the
all right, so who was showing all this information? The railman who was sitting in the booth, I can't remember his name. He saw people mulling around behind the fence. He had a clear view of it. He turned up dead. Now, we can give you a laundry list of how many people are dead that were eyewitnesses in the Kennedy assassination, but you know what? Do your research out there. Figure it out for yourself.
There's a lot of people who have shown up
dead. A lot of people showed up dead.
Shown up dead. You know, they just clocked in, worked dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they woke up dead that morning.
They a zombie.
Now, my question, I believe, would be who were the people that were behind that fence? And that's where the rubber hits the road, sort of, because you got to figure out if they were, then they knew who was in the book depository. Now, was the book depository shots a diversion? I think they were, because if one clearly missed and it hit the bridge abutment, you got everybody looking up to the book depository. That's to your right. And then you hit him with 2 shots from the front. The kill shot came from the front. It clearly said that. I mean, they never expected, Abraham Zapruder to have this film, and he did. And that clearly shows you the seconds that elapsed between the shots. Okay. As to who was in the Texas School Book Depository window, Well, there was no fingerprints found in the sniper's nest that day. None.
Of course.
Nothing anywhere except for one. That was found on a cardboard box. They took everybody's fingerprints that day, including Lee Harvey Oswald, and all came back negative. You would think that if Lee Oswald shot somebody and he was in the sniper's nest, and there was boxes stacked around him, that he would have a, But there was one, and they couldn't figure out which one it was. So later on, they decided they were going to send that to up to forensics to find out, who did it.
Who did this?
Well, I'm going to give you a little insight as to who did it. All right. A guy by the name of Nathan Darby, and Nathan Darby was a forensics person. He worked for 40-some years for the police. All right. And I'm going to... He ran the... I'm trying to get it. He ran the fingerprint. It came back. He did it with a redacted card of a guy by the name of Malcolm Wallace. Malcolm Wallace was a hitman for Lyndon Johnson. Worked for him. Killed several people. Lyndon Johnson got him of a lot of scrapes. Okay. Nathan Darby found out that this was his fingerprint on the 6th floor in the sniper's nest on the 22nd of November, 1963. What was he doing in that building? He didn't throw his fingerprint through a window when he was driving by.
So this is a positive.
It was now here's the deal. Okay. I'm going to read you on March 9th, 1998, in the state of Texas, an affidavit was filed by A. Nathan Darby, the guy who took the thing. Okay. I am a resident of Austin, Texas. I am fully competent to make this affidavit. I have been active in law enforcement for many years, starting with the Texas Department of Public Safety as a state trooper in 1938. I then served with the Texas Police Department from October 40 till August 1979. Okay. I first became interested in fingerprint work in 1942. My direct work in fingerprint identification began soon after, during my military service. Okay. On January 1st, 1948, I was promoted to sergeant and assigned to the identification section of the Austin Police Department. In 1953, I was promoted to lieutenant. 1956, I was made supervisor of the 4 employees of the identification and criminal records section of the Austin Police Department. Okay, so far, all his stuff checks out. He's a pretty smart man, don't you? Wouldn't you agree? Yes. Okay?
Yes.
All right. So, fingerprints are an important part of law enforcement because no two prints are alike. Although no person has been able to calculate the likelihood of a mirrored with statistical certainty, the courts accept the admissibility of evidence from fingerprints. Here we go. Okay. For an expert to identify a latent print with an ink print, matching formations must be found on both prints. Okay, I'm not going to go into the specifics. Recently, I received a photocopy of an inked print along with a photocopy of a latent print from a Texas researcher. After careful and extended examination of the inked print photocopy of the latent print photocopy given to me, I have there identified characteristics marked and numbered. The ink print is Exhibit Dan number 3, and the latent print is Exhibit Dan number 4. In addition to Exhibit Dan number 3 and Dan number 4, researcher gave me a photocopy of a standard form fingerprint card. This is example. All right, the fingerprint card was from Malcolm Wallace. Based on my comparison, I conclude that the unknown person to me who produced a fingerprint, Exhibit Dan 3, produced a latent print of Dan 4, and produced a print of Space 10 on the exhibit. Okay. And then he goes on to say, it's a little lengthy, but he goes on to say that Malcolm Wallace, the fingerprint belonged to Malcolm Wallace, who was later a hitman for
Lyndon Johnson.
Lyndon Johnson. Okay, at a May 29th press conference in Dallas, researcher and author Walt Brown said that the fingerprints belonged to Malcolm E. Mac Wallace, a convicted killer with ties to Lyndon Baines Johnson. The fingerprints have been officially unidentified since President Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. Now, this is 1998 we're talking about. That's how long they had gotten this. Okay. There was a 14-point match to this fingerprint, which is a slam dunk in any courtroom. Any courtroom. So you got to ask yourself, if they found nothing about Lee Oswald, be it Lee Oswald's killer, Mac Wallace, a known hitman, what was he doing in that thing? What was he? Anybody have any ideas?
Lyndon Johnson hired him to kill Kennedy.
Well, there's definitely ties there.
Well, there's a lot of ties.
There's motive.
Well, there's a lot of motive with Lyndon Johnson anyway, because Johnson didn't like Kennedy. Johnson did not, and you know what? You know what really pissed me off?
If they didn't like each other, why the hell was he the vice president?
Well, because at the time, Kennedy was running a very close campaign against Richard Nixon, who was the vice president under Eisenhower.
Dick Nixon.
Okay, he was going to win this thing. Somehow, John Kennedy didn't want to run. His father forced him into running.
Yeah, his father was a dick.
Because his father forced him into running and all this other stuff, he needed a political figure to help him put him over the top. With the help, of course, of the mafia to get him elected, they picked Lyndon Johnson, who was very, very popular in Texas.
In the South.
And he was the president pro temp of the Senate. Okay. He was a big, and Lyndon Baines Johnson, as far back as 1948, had his own scandals. Yeah, I mean, he stuffed a ballot box down in Texas to win an election down there. It's crazy. He had scandals against him.
Well, we're going to take a short little break, and we'll come back and get more into this because, we're a little deep right here. So we'll be right back.
Green Arrow Media has partnered up with StepUpWellness.com. Are you looking for a program to help support a healthy lifestyle? It's never too late for a healthy change, believe me. Today is your lucky day. Check out StepUpWellness.com. It has over 500 different products to choose from, all with your health in mind. They have supplements and vitamins, protein bars and shakes and powders and drinks. Anything that's going to go into your body to make you feel better and live better, StepUpWellness.com has it. If you're in the market for online health, wellness, and fitness products, then look no further. Go to StepUpWellness.com today.
And welcome back. As we try to round out this episode, we have a couple more things to get through. Fuck you, Eric. We have a couple more things to get through, and we'll try to make it as short as possible. But I think the more that our audience knows, the more they can make their own conscious decisions.
Well, you're right, but there's so much to this rabbit hole. It can go on forever
and
ever.
You keep talking and talking and talking, and then you open more questions and more.
And I think
stuff
that's something we have to investigate as far as the Patreon.
You were talking about Malcolm Wallace before we went to break, and his connections to Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Correct.
I have those connections here.
Let me hear them.
Which I think is very interesting to tell, just so we can, again, round out the audience's minds about how, we could just have a hitman that killed Kennedy. So, former Vice President Lyndon Baines Johnson was confirmed as president on Air Force One the day of President John F. Kennedy's assassination. Supposedly, LBJ wasn't on the up and moonlighting as midnight mob boss, scheming unscrupulous criminal activities. I found it mysterious how easily everything connects to LBJ's involvement after hitman Malcolm Wallace was...
Who's this writing this?
Somebody, his name is DJ Adams. He's a supply chain business professional.
Okay.
It's on LinkedIn. Sorry. You messed me up. He goes, I found it mysterious how easily everything connects to LBJ's involvement after hitman Malcolm Wallace's first murder in 1951. Here are some of the connections to LBJ. The same lawyer that represented LBJ after a contested election voter fraud in 1941 also represented Malcolm Wallace in 1951 in his murder trial. In 1952, Malcolm Wallace was found guilty of murder and sentenced to only 5 years, which was the judge in Texas suspended. Coincidence: the murder of John Douglas Kinzer.
At the pitching pot.
Yes. Next, another well-known associate of LBJ, Billy Sol Estes, also from Texas, was being investigated by a lead investigator named Henry Marshall, who was found shot 5 times to death with a bolt-action rifle.
Time out. I want to give you a little insight. The guy that you just mentioned, what was his name?
Billy Sol Estes or Henry Marshall?
Henry Marshall. Okay. They ruled it a suicide, by the way. I just want to tell you that.
They ruled it a suicide.
He got shot. Wait, he shot 5 times?
The gun,
with a bolt-action rifle.
The gun was leaning against a tree 20 feet from where he was killed in Texas. Go on.
So again, they just said that somehow the Texas Sheriff's Office officer investigating in 1961 considered H. Marshall's death to be from suicide. Remember, this is all taking place in Texas, where Lyndon Baines Johnson was like royalty, apparently. Again, the death certificate showed H. Marshall Henry Marshall died from 5 shots from a .22 caliber rifle, wounds in his side, a cut on his head, and a 15% concentrated of carbon monoxide in his lungs.
But he killed himself.
Does this sound like a suicide? Not according to a grand jury formed in 1984. They changed the cause of death to murder, and the federal office official's death certificate ordered change. B.E. Estes reportedly told the 1984 grand jury that Marshall had information that could link former President Lyndon Johnson to Estes's illegal schemes and multi-million-dollar political slush fund that Estes claims was being run by Lyndon Baines Johnson.
This is proof right now that my man's really fuck that man. He really shot this guy, or he really set him up.
Well, Lyndon Baines Johnson was.
There's giving you a scenario on how that could have happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no proof that Mac Wallace did it because, again, 1984, Mac Wallace was long dead by that time. So it just changed a big fucking deal.
I will get into that right now. So guess who Estes identified as the shooter of H. Marshall? Malcolm Wallace. LBJ personal hitman. Mr. Estes has said that he had given millions to Johnson, and that Johnson, while he was vice president, had ordered 7 killings disguised as suicides or accidents to cover up his connections
Before
to
you
the
go
fraud.
any further, one of them was going to be like Johnson's sister.
That motherfucker about to shoot his sister?
Go on, read on.
No, he really a gangster.
No, he not.
No,
he
because
not.
his sister was a drunk.
Oh.
Okay, and Johnson was paranoid that she might say the wrong thing to the wrong people.
Well, 3 perished in accidents, including a plane crash. 2 were found in cars filled with carbon monoxide, and were all declared suicides. Mr. Estes's accountant was also found dead in a car. Estes also claimed LBJ had then set up the assassination of Kennedy in 1963 to become president. That was Billy Sol Estes.
Billy Sol Estes he just recently passed a couple years ago. He wasn't exactly an angel either.
Yes.
So you really
they said Texas con millionaire and LBJ business associate.
Right.
So, and then it says, now on to the death of John F. Kennedy and how Malcolm Wallace was involved in the assassination in Texas, the same state in which LBJ was a powerful political figure, holding office in both the House and the Senate. Malcolm Wallace was assumed to be the second gunman in the assassination, but mysteriously in 1971, Wallace died when his car was ran off the road when he lost control of his vehicle. As for LBJ, he died in 1973. Additionally, the other known gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, was murdered once he was taken into custody. It seems all the loose ends had been tied up in Texas, right? Nope, they forgot about the mistress, who, Madeleine Brown, said, I asked him, Lyndon, you've got to tell me, you've got to talk to me. Are you or were you involved in Kennedy's death? Lyndon said, you know the people that I know, the oil people and the CIA. They did it. The release of thousands of pages of classified files related to the John F. Kennedy assassination have been released, but if you click the link and see for yourself, most of the PDF of photocopies are mostly ineligible, darkened out, and very difficult to read. But CIA cites sources of Russian, Mexican, Cuban with possible involvement on Oswald. The National Archives released 13,213 documents on November 9th, 676 documents on November 3rd, 2,891 documents on October 26th.
What year was this?
Hold on, I have the year right here. This was 2017.
Okay.
This article was published on December 7th, 2017. And 3,810 records on July 4th. Here's a link if you're interested in. But it seems that mysteries involve very powerful people and may not be solved. So they do have a link to all those documents.
All right. Now, having said that, with Mac Wallace. Now, before when I said to you with Nathan Darby, the Leighton guy, the expert,
yeah,
and I gave his affidavit, here's a statement. Now, mind you, Nathan Darby was 100% sure. He had a 14-point match, whatever. Guys, he's been doing it forever. Here's a statement from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. FBI reports no match. We were advised Monday that the National ID Center of the FBI in Washington's review of independent print expert A. Nathan Darby's fingerprint match between the left little finger of Mac Wallace and the latent print number 29 on box A from the sniper's nest on the 6th floor had concluded there was no match. We regret this decision. We know the FBI's review process was incomplete and should not be accepted. So what that tells me, there's an
they don't give a fuck.
They're telling you don't believe what you don't. We didn't find a match, but don't believe it. Okay.
Can I just say one thing here?
Sure.
Say two.
So these documents that this guy sent, or this guy had up on this website, this is the National Archives website itself. They're not full documents. 90% of these documents are redacted.
Yeah.
What's the point then?
The point is they don't want. Again, the point is they don't want unnecessary evidence to get out there. They don't want to implicate other people. And, of course, they're going to tell you, well, we're going to do that for national security. Because everything's national security these days. But that's no longer, that's not even the truth. The truth is they want to keep this as quiet as possible while spoon-feeding the people whatever they want to give you. Now, you got to ask yourself this question. It's been now almost 60 years since the assassination. Who's covering it up now? Why are we still covering it up? There's people who know what's going on. Because
people like us.
The lies are still being told. We're still being asked to believe this is the single bullet theory and bullshit like that. But that you ask why, there's your answer.
Well, it doesn't make any sense, though.
I think right about now we should go have a round table, just a few seconds to go around here to figure out if there's any questions. But I just want to say one thing. In an hour and a half, we're not going to get to even the tip of the iceberg of what happened on that day. We're not going to come to any conclusion. There's not going to be any smoking gun. But what we could bring to you, is the little brief history of what went on, our opinions, facts that might not have got released. All right, it's up to you, the people out there, if you're interested, to take and if you're listening to this program, maybe you are. To take your time and ask these questions and do your own homework, because unless you do your own homework, this is going to continue forever. And if they can do this to this president in 1963, they can do it to any president they want. And you got to the rabbit hole goes deep from Mac Wallace's fingerprint to the single bullet theory to the timeline of the almost impossible timeline of Lee Harvey Oswald and the subsequent stuff that has happened since then. We don't know. I can't tell you I know for a fact what happened that day, but I can tell you I know for a fact it didn't happen the way they tell it happened. It didn't never happen that way. It's impossible. It's an official theory, just like my theory, Joshua's theory, Joey's theory, and Eric's theory. It's up to you to figure out what went on and believe what you want to believe. But don't just let them spoon feed it to you.
No, I agree with you, Dad, and I think
it's a hard episode to get through.
It's a very hard thing to sit there because again, just like with most of the stuff we do, there's a lot to go on, and it's very hard to sit here and try and pinpoint the big, events and what truly happened compared to what was told as official story. It's the same thing with 9/11. We didn't touch base on a lot of things with 9/11, but we did the best we could, and we just want people to listen and think for themselves and at least question things that the normal people don't question. There's a lot of people out there that I say, this happened, they're like, oh my God, I did not know that. I mean, Joshua, alone tonight, I think going into tonight, did you ever think about actually sitting down and going into the John F. Kennedy assassination just because it just looked weird?
No, not really. I mean, obviously it was before our time. So it was one of those things where it was just talked about in history and it was never fully divulged. And I believe it wasn't until you guys started talking about it and I saw little things here and there just because of what happened, but with the actual statistics of the gun, the layout, the yard, the whole environment, everything like that. I'm calling complete bullshit. I really don't care what anyone
And again,
says.
you're not even... Again, you're just going off of base of the shit that we were talking about tonight.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm
not
purely,
really going into the deep as far as... again, Dad has been doing this research for 40 years.
We also never touched on the best possible evidence, and that was Kennedy's body himself.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's fine. I completely get that. And to your credit for you being so knowledgeable about this, to be honest, I believe everything you say, Dad. I'm not even going to question it. The thing for me, automatically, no soon you even was reading it, was that whole bullshit ass magic bullet theory, hitting, going in, out of a body. That's complete and utter bullshit. And if you buy that for any fucking reason, you need to get your head checked.
If you buy
I'm
that,
sorry, I don't mean to be like that blunt, but it has to be. There's so many people out there that play video games, that watch movies and stuff like that. Everything is so fucking accurate that has portrayed the past, even now in the present, that you can't sit there and tell me you're going to believe that.
The minute you don't believe the magic bullet theory is that very minute the light bulb goes on and goes, okay, this was a conspiracy and there was more than one shooter, two for a fact, possibly three, but we haven't touched on that one either.
Yeah.
Oh, how about you, Mr. West? Did you ever think about, because I know you and I have talked about this even in high school. I remember talking about conspiracy theories, going over 9/11 and stuff like that, and that was just me bullshitting with you at lunch.
Yeah, but even then, for it to be bullshitting at those times, I still kind of we had more time to do shit to I guess look into shit like this. It would just pique my curiosity, and I would see inconsistencies in a main story and shit, and I'm just I bet this is some bullshit. So when you talked about Kennedy, I remember watching an old 3D video of how they animated that this could be possible, and I looked at that and I'm just yo, this is bullshit. This is really bullshit. They really just trying to feed me some bullshit right now.
Yeah. So to sit here and try to get through, 40 years of, not even almost 60 years of research and people going back and forth. And testimonies and trying to look into this investigation is hard to do in an hour and a half. and it's hard to even do in 2 hours. And we're really thinking about, again, this is not a ploy for you guys to sit here and you know, we're not like begging you to join our premium or anything like that, or what the hell you call that, Patreon. But we do want to do more stuff on this, and we are going to put it on the Patreon. We got to go deep into talking about this and talking about the events of this.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's hard to put it in an hour and a half, and we kind of skated on top of what are the most important things. And, again, like Dad said, we'd even touch what the body, you know, getting into the body and what happened with the body and how the inconsistencies of the body's wounds compared to what the official story is. So it's hard to sit there and try to do that. But I think us talking about it, getting out there more, now that it's coming up on it's almost 60 years, going to be in 2 years, right? Because it's, 6 years in 2 years. Yeah. So you're talking about 58 years ago, you know, with this.
You know, it's been 58 years, and we've been living this bullshit for that amount of time. It's time. It's time for the truth to come out.
Like you said at the beginning of this episode, Dad, way back at the beginning of this episode, I really do think the minute President Kennedy was assassinated, this country did lose its innocence.
Yes. I have no doubt of that.
And I think at the beginning of the 60s, the assassination of Kennedy in 63 really pushed the 60s into what you got later in the 60s. I mean, you had, you know, because again, Kennedy was going to take us out of Vietnam. Johnson pushed us into Vietnam. There's so much into behind the scenes of what happened with the Kennedy assassination compared to, you know, generals and vice president and this and that person who wanted Kennedy out of office so badly that it would really blow your mind of saying, like, there were so many people who had motive to kill Kennedy. And I'm not saying that because Kennedy was a bad person. I'm saying that because these people were the bad people, and they had the motive to assassinate the president.
I mean, he made a lot of enemies because, again, like we have in our current situation with, you know, when President Trump was in there, he made a lot of enemies because he shook things up.
Basically, Kennedy turned around and told everybody to go fuck themselves, and this is the way he was going to run things.
I'm going to give you a little thing, and just whoever's listening to this, I want you just to take this, what I'm going to say, and just run with it. And just think about it. Just please. You had two presidents in this country printed their own money. Greenbacks, they were called. John F. Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln.
Both of them were shot.
And both of them were shot.
And we're not going to get into the whole conspiracy of...
Just do your homework on that, folks.
Between Abraham and Lincoln and Kennedy.
That's for another day.
Yeah, that's for another day. But this along with 9/11 was probably two of the biggest events in our country's history that changed our country.
Yeah.
To the biggest... In the biggest ways that I think you can recall.
Yeah, I mean, so now do you want to go around and ask everybody if they believe it's a conspiracy?
Well,
I
think we did that. I think, you know, Joshua, we're getting just the information he got tonight.
No, it's unanimous. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. With the whole gun thing, like, even Joey said it before I even was able to get it out, but he was explaining it. Getting shot from the front, your body movement, stuff like that, speed, trajectory, everything like that. The gunpowder that was type of used, the from the 6th floor aiming downwards. I don't even want to get started.
Running down 4 flights of steps in 90 seconds.
So many things.
Out of breath.
There's so many things that we talked about tonight that you could sit there and say, okay, that doesn't make any sense compared to the official story. That doesn't make any sense.
I honestly wish tonight was on video, because that look that Joshua just gave was, it's for any Kennedy researcher, you've given that look a million times. Yep. Because you're like, are you kidding me? You're asking me to believe this shit? So
You get that face like
anyway, guys, it's been a really, really good episode. Again, we didn't touch on a lot, but what we did, I think we got our point across.
Well, I just want to say, because I don't know if it's even on the website, because I don't think the website has been updated lately. But we were originally supposed to do underground bunkers tonight. And we got pushed back a little bit here and there because of certain aspects we did. But
we didn't get pushed back. We just changed around.
Yeah, so we changed around so the people...
We can do that.
Yeah, the people turning around looking
We added something extra, and that took place instead of the bunkers.
And the people looking for the bunker episode, it's going to be next week. So you're going to listen to it next week. So, again, I think I'm going to close this episode out now because we've been down here for far too long. But I think this is going to be one of our best episodes, and I believe that even Eric, you came questioning tonight. I loved it, even though you had the bullshit and you talked about your demons and stuff like that. Everything is demons with him.
Listen, man.
Everything is demons.
Listen, man. If it's a magic bullet and that thing did what the fuck it supposedly did,
it's
a motherfucking demon that shot that shit. Only demons fuck with magic, bro. Fuck that shit.
So the Pope assassinated John F. Kennedy.
Please don't get
anyway, it's been real tonight. I really enjoyed having Eric back in the booth tonight. It was great.
Yes.
Because I gotta feel like I'm incomplete over here. So that's nice.
He said I complete him.
You do complete.
You complete me.
Give him a hug, Eric.
Get away from me.
Damn.
All right, come on, take us out.
So again, everybody, say good night. Say goodbye.
Good night. Goodbye.
Good night, everybody.
Remember, everybody, question everything, and we'll catch you next week, guys. Thank you very much.
Konnichiwa, bitches. It's Ryu West speaking. If you want to find out more about the Is This Real podcast, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/isthisrealpc, or on Twitter at isthisrealpc, or on Instagram at isthisrealpodcast, all one word.